Well, the current economic headwinds does not stop the celebration of Easter or any other festivities. And so let's find out how we're doing and what's happening to demand and supply at a time like this compared to before this period when we do not have inflation surging past 31%. We have to discuss that with us Dr. Jide Adedeji. He's the Chief Executive Officer of Easy Sources Nigeria Limited. Good morning, Dr. Adedeji.
Good morning.
So happy Good Friday.
Same to you.
Yeah.
And thank you for inviting us.
Good to have you. So it's Good Friday. Share with us your experience. You've been in business for a bit in the food chain sector or industry in Nigeria. We see inflation surging past how many decades high at this time. We're fighting a supply of
Raw
materials because most of them are imported. FX is scarce. We are also fighting, even on the domestic front, insecurity that has stopped a lot of farmers from going back to the farm. Compare maybe last 5 years or so when it comes to times like this. What has been the difference?
Yes, thank you. Thank you again. Yes, Easy Sources is a manufacturer of sauces. And our basic ingredients are raw materials are the tomatoes, peppers, and onions. So we are intimately familiar with what is going on in the market regards to these raw materials. So mostly, yes, the food security situation we find ourselves in Nigeria actually leads to all of these problems in terms of farmers not being able to produce and being removed from their farms. So that creates the problem in terms of production and their own competitiveness and productivity. So when it comes to this kind of period, one of the things that is affecting our products cost right now is the Ramadan. You find that at this time in the year, a lot of the normal value chain transfer of products is not happening because people don't want to take off from the north and bring goods and commodities to the south. So at this period, it tends to give a small bump in the cost of raw materials. However, in terms of how we got here in the first place, as you were speaking to, is the food security issues we are finding. We find that there's quite a bit of food insecurity in Nigeria. About over 200 million people are food insecure, and these are causing some of what we are seeing. But we got there by the conflicts that we see in the Northeast, the Southwest banditry and all these things, and then...
But was it this much, comparing like past years? Maybe not last year, maybe like 2 years ago, 5 years ago. How was it comparing that period and now?
Obviously, there is inflation that has affected everything, and most of our raw materials have actually increased based on some of the things that we have seen happening in the economy. The cost of fuel and the cost of transportation, and that has affected the cost of raw materials as well. So all of these bring into focus that increased cost. And for manufacturers, all these raw materials are what we find. We find that even we make sauces and sometimes meals ready to eat. Those meals ready to eat use rice and some of these raw materials. We find that the 50-kilogram bag of rice we were buying about 33,000 naira before is somewhere in the area of 70,000, 80,000 naira now. So that impacts the cost of these goods that we bring out into the market. So yes, there has been over the past few years increase, which is causing some of these things we are finding, especially in the cost of goods, cost of food, as well as in the availability as well. I'm also aware, though, that the government is engaging or planning, getting ready to be engaged in some massive palliative activities that the Bank of Industry is working on in partnership with the Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment. So I'm hoping that we are going to see alleviation of some of these problems in a very short distant time.
But you know, in spite of this, it's actually sad that we still have, I think, about 50% post-harvest losses. So for a company like yours that deal with raw materials like tomatoes that come from the north, if you go to the north, you see a whole lot of tomatoes, peppers, and all of that. You see them wasted. Meanwhile, there's a huge need of it here. It doesn't look like we're intentionally trying to solve the problem of post-harvest losses.
In the agribusiness space, one thing is very clear. The investment that we're doing as a nation in that space is absolutely not enough. Because some of these problems that we talk about is really based and due to the fact that there's not enough funding and investment in the agribusiness space in Nigeria. In fact, I mean, I was reading just as I came in that banks are making, after taxes, 6 billion profit, and we're finding it difficult to adequately fund and invest in the agribusiness area, which is very critical for the survival of our country and nation. We all know that, food is critical, and this food and food security is important even for the sovereignty of our nation, because you find that we're doing a lot of importation of goods, and this is not something that is sustainable. So we must do everything to begin to increase productivity and competitiveness in agribusiness space in Nigeria.
Yeah, maybe the private sector. For instance, is your factory close to your source of raw materials? Do you have a factory in the north where a lot of your raw material comes from?
Our source of raw material actually all over the country. Because of the nature of these raw materials, there's some amount of variability in their availability. And seasonality. So in season, depending on what the season is, we buy from different locations based on where it is. Sometimes it's closer when we buy from the southwest. Sometimes we have to go a little bit to the north. But all of it's about all the transportation.
I guess that also speaks to the issue of storage and preservation infrastructure in the country.
Yes,
because it shouldn't be seasonal. We should be able to have a storage or preservation facility that keeps, this product all through the year.
Especially, we are talking about raw materials that are 6 months in terms of from plantation to harvest, 6 months, 9 months. So there's no reason we cannot have 2-3 cycles in a season or in a year. But because we have not invested enough at the level of irrigation, the use, so that we can have all year-round production of all of these products, and then the use of different inputs, which we should do everything to bring to the market, to impact the productivity. So
obviously it's an issue of capital for infrastructure, for preservation, for storage. What are investment opportunities available for the private sector now, to solve this problem?
Yes, investment opportunity. You see, along the entire value chain, there are opportunities in terms of productivity. But again, as you have said, it boils down to the availability of funds to do these things. In fact, my suggestion would be that we need quite significant concessionary investment and funding in this space that is going to allow us and give us the opportunity to get out of this place or position where we are, where we have to start relying on palliatives and things like that. Because what we need is going to be some strategic input such that we are planning for the future and we are making sure that all of the relative advantages that we are capitalizing and utilizing them appropriately for development and growth and productivity of all of this material.
Yeah, now obviously this will come from both the private and the public sector. We cannot limit to just one. All right, thank you so much, Dr. Jide Adedeji, the Chief Executive Officer of Easy Sources.
Thank you so much.
Wish you happy Easter.
Same to you.
And thank you for spending a part of it with us.
Thank you. It's nice to see you again.
Same here.
Bye-bye.
Yes.